Thank you, Doctor. My name is Anyanwu. I'm the District Governor of Lions Club International District 404A1 Nigeria. And this 404A1 Nigeria covers parts of Lagos, part of Ogun State, all of the all of Delta, and all of the State. So I'm the District Governor for this year, starting from July 1. The tenure is just for 1 year, so I'll finish of June next year. Thank you very much, sir. So, this is my team. To my immediate left is Elijah, Lion, Kaplana, Solodotun, Karim Yusuf. And next to her is Karim Yusuf is the chairperson of marketing communication. And then next to her is Lion Joyce Apata. Lion Joyce is in charge of Nigerian Lions Charity Foundation. And next to her is Lion George Tadimowa. Lion George is the Deputy Chief of Staff for the district for this current year. Thank you very much. Oh yes, and joining us right away is Lion Ada Otore. Lion Ada Otore is our central banker. She is the district cabinet treasurer. So she gives all the money.
Okay. Looks like we have very strong representation here this afternoon. You just emerged as the DG. Can you tell us some of your intentions for the Lions Club within the space of your tenure?
Okay, thank you very much. So I'll go a little bit back. The Lions district governor is in charge of the district for just 1 year. But to get to the position of district governor, you first of all have to contest election to the position of second vice district governor. So that will be in the year 2020. Then after that, you second vice district governor for 1 year. After that, you run again for an election to the position of first vice district governor. So then after that, if you win district governor, you become district governor from July 1 to June 30 of the next year. So now, what are my intentions for the district? First of all, I like to explain to you that every district governor chooses a team which will guide him or her for the service year. So this year, my team is love and respect. And why did we choose love and respect as our team? Number one, the job we do as a service organization is a work of love. We serve humanity by volunteering our time, our money, our energy, our intellect to serve humanity without any interest on financial reward for any of us. So, and love covers all. We also chose respect as part of our team because every human being deserves respect. Respect is actually a fundamental right of every human being. And there is a current trend in the world for people to be disrespectful to others. So in carrying out our service, we want to call the attention of humanity. Service is respect. And respect comes in different forms. It may be that you give a true regard to people. It may be that you even give people a listening ear. It may be that you treat people kindly. It may be that you speak to people in a nice and friendly manner. So this year we're going to serve humanity with love and respect. Then what are our goals? The Lions Clubs International has 5 focal areas of service. And these areas are site restoration and site management, the build classes to people. We carry out screening to determine the situation of people's eyes. We support those who can afford it to do either cataract surgeries or glaucoma treatment. And in very serious cases, we assist those who need cornea to get back their sight. So we also sponsor cornea transplant. So that's in the area of sight. Another area that we focus on is in the area of diabetes. Now, diabetes is a pandemic. It's an epidemic in the world today. Unfortunately for diabetes, a lot of people who have diabetes don't even know that they have diabetes. So part of what we do is we do diabetes awareness and diabetes education. We try to get people to check their risk to diabetes. There are criteria that we can use to check if you are at risk of catching diabetes. We encourage people to run diabetes tests. We carry out screening tests, in marketplaces, in public places, to get to ascertain people's diabetes status, their sugar levels. And then we also help in managing those who already have problems. In extreme cases of diabetes, you either have people have to cut their limbs or people go blind. Those are the extreme cases of diabetes. Diabetes also damages the kidney and the liver. So part of the job we do in diabetes is we establish diabetes centers, we do diabetes screening, we do diabetic treatment, we sponsor people to have, and we have also built diabetic centers in various hospitals in Nigeria. So the third area of service is the area of pediatric cancer. We have children for no fault of theirs catch cancer, and sometimes those treatments are very expensive. So we call attention of parents to symptoms of pediatric cancer. So because sometimes children will get sick and you don't know what is wrong with them until you watch out for the symptoms or the wrong tests. So we create awareness for for pediatric cancer, and we provide support to children who for no fault of theirs have pediatric cancer. Sometimes we sponsor operations in hospital, depending on the nature of the pediatric cancer. Sometimes we also go to hospital wards where children with pediatric cancer are treated to make the ambience of the wards attractive, so that it suits the pain of these children who are suffering from pediatric cancer. So that's the third area of our service. The fourth area of our service is on hunger alleviation. We use our time and energy and also part of our money we raise from partners and supporters to alleviate hunger. There are a lot of hungry people all over the place. So sometimes we buy food stuff and distribute in indigent areas. Sometimes we organize soup kitchens where we serve free food to people. Sometimes we also will try to say, you can give a man fish for one day, but if you teach him how to fish, he can feed himself. So sometimes we also empower people to learn skills that they can use to take care of themselves. So that's also a way of alleviating hunger. The final area in which we serve humanity is in the area of environment. What do we do in environment? We call attention of people to the fact that protecting this environment that we have is our responsibility. God has created our earth and given it to us as a habitat. But for it to continue to be a habitat for all of us, it is us that will have to manage it. So we do environment education. We also try to manage the environment. We also create avenues to manage the environment. So these are the 5 cardinal areas of our service. Now, what do we want to do this year? We will do all the routine things we do in carrying out our 5 focal areas of science. But there are two specific things we want to do in this line. So the first one is that we want to build a diabetic center at the General Hospital. We have a small diabetic center that is in a makeshift center of 2 rooms in one apartment. So we're trying to raise money from our partners, our friends, our alliance, and from our head office in Anogwi to be able to build a one-stop shop diabetes center in a great general hospital to serve the people in that environment. Because if you check the location of a great general hospital, you see that from a great general hospital, you can serve people from the from a great general hospital, you can serve people up to Lekki, and then even up to Ikoro, because the general hospital in Ikoro, but in between all that almost 60 kilometer radius, there is no sanitized diabetic center. So if people have diabetic complication, they have to go to either Leeds or to Lasso. So we want to build a one-stop shop diabetic center at the regional hospital. Then we also want to carry out the project on environmental management. And what do we want to do? We want to get our plots. By the way, we have 121 plots in the 5 states that we exist in. We have 121 plots. So what we want to do is we want to partner with the clubs to build receptacles to collect plastic bottle waste.
Okay.
If you walk around, you will see that most drainages are cluttered with plastic bottle waste. Now, there are 2 challenges with that. If you throw empty plastic bottles into the drain, one, it clutters the drain. Number 2, even when you evacuate them from the drain, they are no longer useful because they are all messed up and hit. You can't recycle them. So what we want to do is build this receptacle that we put in key public places where people drink either soft drinks or water and just throw away the plastic bottle. So we build receptacles. When you finish, you put the plastic bottle in the receptacle. Then recyclers can come there and collect them to go and recycle. So those are the 2 major projects we will do, in addition to all the other projects that we do in the area of science, in the area of diabetes, in the area of environment, in the area of pediatric cancer, and in the area of hunger elimination.
2 very massive projects. The diabetes center is very much going to be very cost and effect. I mean, it's going to be costly.
Very expensive, yes.
Very expensive.
Yeah.
Then we also talked about recycling bottles.
Yeah, those plastic.
Before we go there, let's talk about 2 things majorly. First, of all the environments where your district covers, why did you decide to choose Ekpe as the place where that diabetic center will be located?
Okay, thank you. There are 2 or 3 reasons. Number 1 is that Ekpe falls within the coverage of our district. Then number 2, before you do a project in the Lions movement, whether as a club or as a district, you carry out what is called community needs assessment. And what that means is you ask around to see where does a need exist that they can fill. We saw that Ekpe is one of those areas within our district that we haven't done a project. So we went talking to them. Initially, we wanted to do a project in sites, to do something in the eye hospital. But when we now discussed with the CM, the medical director of the regional hospital, he now said that their eye center is fairly standard, that the area where they have need is in diabetes. So that's how come we now started packaging project in diabetes. And like you said, it's quite an expensive thing to do. So the way we want to do it is, usually we have our foundation, which is called the Lions Club International Foundation. So when you have a need and you process the need, you tell them that this is what I want to do. If they look at it and they feel it's justified, they will give you 75% of the money you need. And then locally, from Lions and our partners and our friends, we have to raise the 25%. So this project in the place was cost about $200,000. So we have applied for a grant of $150,000 from Lions Club International Foundation. And we're trying to raise the local $50,000 by calling our friends, our partners, and all that to come and support us. And indeed, on the 20th of August, I'm going to have my public presentation where I'll be presented to the public. I will have invited friends and corporate bodies to say, hey, this is what we want to do, come and support us. So that is how we raise the money. Then of course, Lions do their contributions. Yeah.
So it means that we're having a gathering on the 20th of August.
Yes, on the 20th of August at Harbour Point, Victoria Island, we will have a public presentation. I've invited friends, corporate bodies, and we have also invited security people to come and be with us as we celebrate and then we raise funds to carry out our humanitarian service activities.
Okay, I'm going to ask you something quite personal now. You seem to have been a member of the Lions Club for quite a long time, to have become the district governor. What attracted you to join the club in the first place?
Thank you. You know, the Lions movement is it's actually the movement that people get invited. People inside invite others. When you look at your friends and they are service-minded, they want to serve humanity, you invite them and say, come and join us. Let's do this together. Now, but I wasn't really invited to join the Lions Club. I joined the Lions Club because I was fascinated with what they were doing. In 1994, so I had moved into a street in Surulere. One of my senior colleagues in the banking industry, he's late now, the late Anyanwu, was living in the house next door to where we moved to. So my wife and I went to pay him a visit to say, okay, we're living next door to you now. So when we finished seeing him and he was seeing us off, in the lobby of the house, there was a stand-up banner that says, Lions Club International building motherless babies home in Lekki. I thought that was really interesting. So after I said, okay, who are these people? He said, there is Lions International. Am I interested? I said, yes, I would like to know who these people are. That it's not government and they're building a motherless babies home. So that's how he invited me to join the Yaba Lions Club. So I went to the Yaba Lions Club. And that was 1994. So I'm still there now. And next to her is Lion George. Lion George is the Deputy Chief of Staff for the district for this current year. Thank you very much. Oh yeah, and joining us right away is Lion Anogwi. Lion Anogwi is our central banker. She's the district cabinet treasurer. So she gives all the money.
Okay. Looks like we have very strong representation here this afternoon. You just emerged as the DG. Can you tell us some of your intentions for the Lions Club within the space of your tenure?
Okay, thank you very much. So I go a little bit back. The Lions district governor is in charge of the district for just 1 year. But to get to the position of district governor, you first of all have to contest election to the position of second vice district governor. So that we did in the year 2020. Then after that, you second vice district governor for 1 year. After that, you run again for an election to the position of first vice district governor. So then after that, if you win as district governor, you become district governor from July 1 to June 30 of the next year. So now, what are my intentions for the district? First of all, I like to explain to you that every district governor chooses a team which will guide him or her for the service year. So this year my team is love and respect. Now why did we choose love and respect as our team? Number one, the job we do as a service organization is a work of love. We serve humanity by volunteering our time, our money, our energy, our intellect to serve humanity without any interest on financial reward for any of us. So, and love covers all things. We also chose respect as part of our team because every human being deserves respect. Respect is actually a fundamental right of every human being. And there is a current trend in the world for people to be disrespectful to others. So in carrying out our service, we want to call the attention of humanity that service is respect, and respect comes in different forms. It may be that you give the due regard to people. It may be that you even give people a listening ear. It may be that you treat people kindly. It may be that you speak to people in a nice and friendly manner. So this year we're going to serve humanity with love and respect. Then what are our goals? The Lions Clubs International has 5 focal areas of service. And these areas are site restoration and site management. We give classes to people, we carry out screening to determine the situation of people's eyes. We support those who can afford it to do either cataract surgeries or glaucoma treatment. And in very serious cases, we assist those who need cornea to get back their sight. So we also sponsor cornea transplants. So that's in the area of sight. Another area that we focus on is in the area of diabetes. Now, diabetes is a pandemic.
Really?
It's an epidemic in the world.
Okay.
Today. Unfortunately for diabetes, a lot of people who have diabetes don't even know that they have diabetes. So part of what we do is we do diabetes awareness and diabetes education. We try to get people to check their risk to diabetes. There are criteria that you can use to check if you are at the risk of catching diabetes. We encourage people to run diabetes tests. We carry out screening tests, in marketplaces, in public places, to get to ascertain people's diabetes status, their sugar levels. And then we also help in managing those who already have problems. In extreme cases of diabetes, you either have people have to cut their limbs or people go blind. Those are the extreme cases of diabetes. Diabetes also damages the kidney and the liver. So part of the job we do in diabetes is we establish diabetic centers, we do diabetes screening, we do diabetic treatments. We sponsor people to have, and we have also built diabetic centers in various hospitals in Nigeria. So, the third area of service is in the area of pediatric cancer. We have children who, for no fourth of theirs catch cancer, and sometimes those treatments are very expensive. So we call attention of parents to symptoms of pediatric cancer. So because sometimes children will get sick and you don't know what is wrong with them until you watch out for the symptoms or you run tests. So we create awareness for for pediatric cancer, and we provide support to children who, for no fault of theirs, have pediatric cancer. Sometimes we sponsor operations in hospital, depending on the nature of the pediatric cancer. Sometimes we also go to hospital wards where children with pediatric cancer are treated to make the ambience of the wards, attractive, so that it suits the pain of these children who are suffering from pediatric cancer. So that's the third area of our service. The fourth area of our service is on hunger alleviation. We use our time and energy, and also part of our money we raise from partners and supporters to alleviate hunger. There are a lot of hungry people all over the place. So sometimes we buy food stuff and distribute in indigent areas. Sometimes we organize soup kitchens where we serve free food to people. Sometimes also we try to say, you can give a man fish for one day, but if you teach him how to fish, he can feed himself. So sometimes we also empower people to learn skills that they can use to take care of themselves. So that's also a way of alleviating hunger. The final area in which we serve humanity is in the area of environment. What do we do in environment? We call attention of people to the fact that protecting this environment that we have is our responsibility. God has created our earth and given it to us as a habitat. But for it to continue to be a habitat for all of us, it is us that will have to manage it. So we do environment education. We also try to manage the environment. We also create avenues to manage environment. So these are the 5 cardinal areas of our service. Now, what do we want to do this year? We will do all the routine things we do in carrying out our 5 focal areas of service. But there are 2 specific things we want to do in this line. So the first one is that we want to build a diabetic center at the General Hospital at Ekpe. They have a small diabetic center that is in a makeshift center of 2 rooms in one apartment. So we're trying to raise money from our partners, our friends, our alliance, and from our head office in Old Group to be able to build a one-stop shop diabetic center in a Ekpe General Hospital to serve the people in that environment. Because if you check the location of Ekpe General Hospital, you see that from Ekpe General Hospital, you can serve people from Ijebu-Ode. From Ekpe General Hospital, you can serve people up to Lekki, and then even up to, there's a general hospital, but in between all that almost 60 kilometer radius, there is no standardized diabetic center. So if people have diabetic complications, they have to look to either Lourdes or to last. So we want to build a one-stop shop diabetic center at the General Hospital. Then we also want to carry out a project on environmental management. And what do we want to do? We want to get our clubs. By the way, we have 121 clubs in the 5 states that we exist in. We have 121 clubs. So what we want to do is we want to partner with the clubs to build receptacles to collect plastic bottle waste.
Okay.
If you walk around, you will see that most drainages are cluttered with plastic bottle waste. Now, there are 2 challenges with that. If you throw empty plastic bottles into the drain, 1, it clutters the drain. Number 2, even when you evacuate them from the drain, They are no longer useful because they are all messed up and dated. You can't recycle them. So what we want to do is build receptacles that we put in key public places where people drink either soft drinks or water and just throw away the plastic bottle. So we build receptacles. When you finish, you put the plastic bottle in the receptacle. Then recyclers can come there and collect them to go and recycle. So those are the two major projects we will do, in addition to all the other projects that we do in the area of sight, in the area of diabetes, in the area of environment, in the area of pediatric cancer, and in the area of hunger alleviation.
Two very massive projects. The diabetes center in Anogwi is very much going to be very cost effect. I mean, it's going to be costly.
Very expensive, yes.
Very expensive. Then you also talked about recycling bottles.
Those plastic.
Before we go there, let's talk about two things majorly. First, of all the environments where your district covers, why did you decide to choose Ekpe as the place where that diabetic center will be located?
Okay, thank you. There are 2 or 3 reasons. Number one is that Ekpe falls within the coverage of our district. Then number 2, before you do a project in the Lions movement, whether as a club or as a district, you carry out what is called community needs assessment. And what that means is you ask around to see where does a need exist that you can fill. We saw that Ekpe is one of those areas within our district that we haven't done a project. So we went talking to them. Initially, we wanted to do a project in sites, to do something in the eye hospital. But when we now discussed with the CM, the medical director of the regional hospital, he now said that their eye center is fairly standard, that the area where they have need is in diabetes. So that's how come we now started, packaging the project of diabetes. And like you said, it's quite an expensive thing to do. So the way we want to do it is, usually we have our foundation, which is called the Lions Club International Foundation. So when you have a need and you process the need, you tell them, like, this is what I want to do. If they look at it and they feel it's justified, they will give you 75% of the money you need. And then locally, from Lions and our partners and our friends, we have to raise the 25%. So this project in the first was about $200,000. So we have applied for a grant of $150,000 from Lions Club International Foundation. And we're trying to raise the local $50,000 presented to the public. And we have invited friends and corporate bodies to say, hey, this is what we want to do, come and support us. So that is how we raise the money. That then, of course, Lions do their contributions.
So it means that we're having a gathering on the 20th of August.
Yes, on the 20th of August at Harbour Point, Victoria Island, we will have a public presentation. We have invited friends, corporate bodies, and we have also invited city people to come and be with us as we celebrate and then we raise funds to carry out our humanitarian service activities.
Okay, I'm going to ask you something quite personal now. You seem to have been a member of the Alliance Club for quite a long time, to have become the district governor. What attracted you to join the club in the first place?
Thank you. The Lions movement is actually a movement that people get invited. People inside invite others. When you look at your friends and they are service minded, they want to serve humanity, you invite them and say, come and join us. Let's do this together. Now, but I wasn't really invited to join the Lions Club. I joined the Lions Club because I was fascinated with what they were doing. In 1994, so I had moved into a street in Surulere. One of my senior colleagues in the banking industry, he's late now, the late Anyanwu, was living in the house next door to where we moved to. So my wife and I went to pay him a visit to say, okay, we're living next door to you now. So when we finished seeing him and he was seeing us off, in the lobby of the house, there was a stand-up banner that says, Lions Club International is building a motherless babies home in Lekki. I thought that was really interesting. So I asked him, who are these people? He said, there is Lions International. That, am I interested? I said, yes, I would like to know who these people are. That it's not government and they're building a motherless babies home. So that's how he invited me to join Yaba Lions Club. So I went to Yaba Lions Club. And that was in 1994. So I'm still there now.
Take one more question before my Ogawa. You were talking about the PET bottle and the drainage system, which is of course a menace in Lagos. Everywhere there is flood, and we know it's due to the blocking of the drainage system. But why did you decide to also look into that direction?
Okay. I'm actually interested in the environment generally.
As part of the UNSDG.
I'm interested in the environment generally. So, one, I like green.
Okay.
In fact, I usually tell my friend jokingly that if I was a plant, I would have been a hero. I like green. And I like properly managed environments. And number two is, personally, where I come from, my village, we're in a valley. And because of the mismanagement of the environment, when it rains, from like 5 kilometers away, all the rain comes to my place, and as it comes, it's just carrying away the topsoil. So, if you go to my Facebook page, you will see a picture where I posted a picture. In 1970, we had done a pipe-borne water project in my village, and we dug the pipe 6 feet below ground. So 2 years ago, there was an event in my village, so I took some pictures, and I just saw that the pipes were buried 6 feet below ground in 1974, sorry. All of them are on the surface. So what that tells me is that over a period of time, runoff water has carried away 6 feet of soil. And I was asking myself, so how long can this continue before we actually disappear from the earth that God has given us? So those are the things that made me to say, hey, well, whatever I can do to call attention to the environment, I will do. And that was even why 2 years ago my district governor appointed me the chairperson of the environment. So we started calling attention of everybody. Those things we can do to manage the environment. There are several things we can do to manage the environment. But the critical thing we need to understand that it is our responsibility. Now, the plastic bottle waste. It drives me crazy when I go out and I look into bottles, or when government manages and they bring out debris from the gutters, and it's all plastic bottles that are covered with slime and mud and everything. So it just drives me crazy. And then also, I realized that management of pegged bottles should actually start from the home. You know, if you go to your house and you have your children or your house girl or whoever, when they want to dispose of plastic bottles, they don't put it in a way that it can be properly disposed. They threw it away with the biodegradable waste from the kitchen. So by the time you even go into the dustbin, you see that it's already destroyed. So we now decided that, okay, I decided actually that we have to call attention to this, that whatever is good is human being do it. So that's why we want to do this plastic waste management. It just as an introduction to the fact that, listen, if you manage plastic well, maybe you can get a hang of it. Different countries have different ways of trying to control the plastic waste. In some countries, you can't get water in a plastic bottle. It has to be in a glass bottle. And those are reusable glass bottles. In some countries, you cannot get polythene bag. If you go to the shop, it's paper recyclable bags that they will keep. You know, so, but at least if you can call attention to the fact that this is a menace and it's within our control, if we put a mind to it, to manage it, then at least we will have started.
Thank you very much. Let me take over city people and then also provide your new assignment. You will state for us what we should expect from you. Most